The following is a production of WEGL 91.1 FM.
That ball is gone. It's a walk-off home run for Stephen Williams.
WEGL Sports,
The Tigers are headed to the College World Series.
where every
Touchdown Auburn! Zakoby McClain!
game
They're not going to keep him off the field tonight. Holy cow!
lives. And welcome into another edition of the Xtra Point here on WEGL 91.1 FM and WEGLFM.com. Hello, everybody. Jared Dillard, and joining me from wherever they may be is Alex Houston, Jacob Hillman, and Jack Hart. Jack, we'll start with you first. How are you doing today on this fine Monday morning?
Well, Jared, I've been better, but don't have very many complaints. So excited to get this week going, and the beat goes on as we move on into Arkansas Hate Week.
Is that a thing? Is Arkansas Hate Week a thing?
I mean, I hate them. I'll make it a thing.
All right. Jacob, how about you? How are you doing today?
We're on to Arkansas.
Fair enough. And Alex, how are you doing this fine morning as well?
I had worse Mondays. So, I mean...
Really?
Yeah, actually.
I find that hard to believe, Alex.
What?
I find that hard to believe.
You don't believe me? I mean,
I guess the day after the 2014 National Championship is a hard one. I don't think that was a Monday, but it was still a hard day.
Let's just put it in perspective. I've witnessed weekends where I've seen Auburn lose and then Washington lose by 40. This week they only lost by 14. So again, I've had worse Mondays.
Fair. I'll give you
We're on to
that.
Arkansas, of course, because
I'll give you that. Welcome to that Extra Point here on WEGL 91.1 FM and WEGLFM.com. Just a quick little update. A midnight surprise happened. The Extra Point highlights for September dropped on Spotify, iTunes, and such. Just an hour-long highlights of everything that happened in the month of September. It's a lot of just arguing between each one of us. So that's a lot of fun, and that's on your favorite podcast host as we speak right now. So go ahead and give that a listen for probably the most off-the-wall hour that you'll ever hear about on this show. On top of that, we have a great show lined up. First, going into the Auburn, Georgia recap, and then SEC football, along with NBA Finals, NFL, and then wrapping up with Major League Baseball. But we knew what was coming for the last about 48 hours, and now we're here. Is that we were going to talk about what happened on Saturday, and it wasn't. I don't know how many good things you can take away, maybe two, but there's a lot of bad to unpack. So that is our job. You say one. What was that, Alex?
I mean, the one positive I have from this game, is that Tank Bigsby is going to be spectacular. That's the only thing you can really take away from it. And, of course, you could say that Jamie Sherwood was pretty good as well. He played great on defense, but maybe two then. I'll give you that, maybe two. But that's just about the only positive I could take away from that.
Well, let's just go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and break it down as we get into the Extra Point. If you want to catch any of our shows, make sure you go to the podcast host, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anything like that, or our YouTube page where the show will be live at the premiere at 3:45 Central Time, 4:45 Eastern, Monday through Thursday. All right, 27-6. That was the score. Every one of us had the game at least close, I guess, in a sense. I don't think anybody had this. Auburn's offense was anemic, and the defense was just lost part of the time. But I guess we'll start off with the first question that I have on the rundown, which is just what went wrong for Auburn. Alex, I'll let you kick it off.
I would say if you look at this game from an objective perspective, just objective viewer of college football, you would say yes, part of the game is on the fact that the defense played terrible in the first half. However, Kevin Steele has provided a national championship level defense for 4 years. So if he wants to be a little worse this year, honestly, I'd give him a pass because the offense at some point should figure out how to not be terrible in games against good teams on the road. But again, they've just, I mean, what? This is probably the second worst performance of an Auburn offense we've ever seen under Gus, at least. I mean,
What do you think is the first? Because I have one in mind.
what?
What do you think is the first? Because I have one in mind.
Clemson.
17
2017.
Clemson.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the only other one that I can compare it to. And that one, I mean, honestly, was just worse because Jarrett Stidham can't scramble as much as Bo Nix. Because if that was the case, Bo probably would have been sacked 11 times on Saturday as well, because the offensive line performance was equal to that against Clemson. And it's just a matter of, and again, the defense, after allowing 24 points, basically locked Georgia down in the second half. Of course, Georgia played a lot more conservatively because they were up 24-0, but the defense gave the offense opportunities, and again, they just managed to fail from top to bottom. Again, they just looked unprepared. Everything they did, Georgia seemed ready for. And the offensive line, again, which has been a theme for the last 4 years, just was bad. And there's not really anything else to say because it's all the same things we've said before. Nothing new to me seemed to be an issue with the offense. It was just the same issues that they've had in 2017 against Clemson, the same issues they had against Georgia the last 2 years, and the same issues they had Saturday night. So, I mean, the defense had to replace two of the better players of the past decade, and obviously they're not going to be as good. I think we knew that. We didn't expect them to be probably as bad as they were in the first half, but again, it's still no excuse for the offense to score 6 points. So, I mean, that's that.
Jacob.
Yeah, I think you're right about this being. I mean, there's probably a few other offensive performances that can compare with this one. 2016 Georgia, 2014
I think
Georgia.
it's not only it's a comparison of offensive performance relative to the amount of talent on the field. I mean,
Yeah.
you can take a look back to 20 to the Athens game, the 7-13 game, but you're also dealing with a backup quarterback and a really rattle. I mean, but the offense had the talent to perform, and I think this case was the same in 2017.
I think the point I'm trying to make here, though, is that this weekend felt like a must-win game for Gus Malzahn. The way he's performed in Athens these last 7 years has just been horrendous. Now, of course, this goes back further than Gus Malzahn. This goes back to Tommy Tuberville. But you would think that Gus would be able to figure out a way to do it. In 2013, he had to win off a miracle. But then in 2017, he dominated number one Georgia. But this was at Jordan-Hare Stadium. That's a lot different. I guess 2 weeks later, he went into Atlanta, and he got dominated by Georgia. I really, when I look at it specifically, the offense, I mean, yeah, it's kind of obvious. It's just the offensive line. Like Alex said, it's the same problem over the last 4 years. I mean, I don't know what's going to be able to change it unless offensive line coach McNell just can somehow wave a magic wand and they get better in the next 2 or 3 weeks, because obviously the next few weeks are the few weeks that they have a chance to work some kinks out, and you need to be ready for LSU. LSU isn't as good as they were last year, but they're going to be all right. They're probably going to be top half of the SEC, which the way Auburn played on Saturday, it's not going to be enough to beat a team that's in the top half of the SEC. So I'm looking ahead, and they have a chance to turn this thing around because of the next 3 opponents. And I'm not trying to, doubt Arkansas or South Carolina or Ole Miss, but those are the teams that you're going to have to figure it out against.
Jack, do you want to brush up on that?
I think, Jacob made a good point where, I mean, this seemed like a critical game for Malzahn, in that he had an opportunity to do what hadn't been done in 15 years. And capitalize on, I'd say, what looked to be going into the game a relatively weak Georgia team, and we're talking about a team that had 5 points against Arkansas this past week, and was dealing with an inexperienced quarterback, and it was frustrating because Auburn didn't get any pressure on that inexperienced quarterback. He was getting it out of the backfield quickly, and the offensive line of Georgia was doing their job to make sure that Stetson Bennett today, barely got any grass stains on his jersey. So that just seems like a missed opportunity for Gus. I don't know what the game plan was going in terms of trying to rattle this young quarterback and very inexperienced quarterback, I might add. It seems like something that Auburn would be able to capitalize on, and the quarterback battle was already won effectively for Auburn. They're coming in with a 1-year veteran, a SEC freshman of the year, all of that. The offense looked like it could run all over Georgia just on paper, and then Gus comes in with 6 points on the way into the day. So just from a meta standpoint of what this means mentally, it just really looks like Gus had an opportunity to pick on a relatively weak or maybe just scared Georgia team and do something that hasn't been done since 2005 and winning in Athens, and really fumbled the bag there, and just kind of adds another tally mark into this idea that Gus Malzahn can't win in big games. I'll also add that we'll continue to compare this to the Clemson game, but I think Auburn does what Auburn does, and we all remember in 2017 when Auburn was really able to turn the season around. So I think if the schedule is fortuitous as it is, as Jacob mentioned, with Arkansas next week, South Carolina, and then Ole Miss down the road, I think those games getting progressively more difficult if you just look at it on paper. I think Auburn really has an opportunity to readjust, reassess, and that is going to be the critical aspect of this season, is whether or not they can translate from practice to live ball and make the adjustments needed to come out ahead of the competition.
39 rushing yards. Alex, you were going to say something?
Yeah. I got one more thing, because Jacob, you actually reminded me of this a little more as I was thinking you were talking about it, the offensive line. And I think that the issue that Auburn has, and the issue that Auburn will always have, and I'm not going to call for Malzahn to be fired because that's ridiculous, especially because his buyout is $28 million, and that's absurd. Even if I wanted to, I wouldn't ask Auburn to pay that money. But the issue comes down to the fact that Auburn has, at its very core, a very flawed recruiting plan, and they have not adjusted to it in the past 7 years that have going on. Because if you look at this offense and you look at its receiving core, this receiving core is vastly more talented than, say, the 2013 receiving core. Because the 2013 receiving core was Sammy Coates and Ricardo Lewis, who were good, but in terms of overall talent, I think Seth Williams is more talented than both of those players. We don't see it because the offense doesn't know how to utilize it. Because the issue is that in recruiting, Auburn seemingly focuses on getting these playmakers that they will not be able to utilize because their offensive line is essentially useless. They do not recruit a good offensive line to build upon, because that's what you need in football, especially with this offense, because the offense thrives when the running game functions. And
39 yards.
What?
I said 39 yards.
Yeah, exactly. That's not it, because they do not recruit for an offensive line. Instead, they recruit for athletes and skill players that they do not utilize. They recruit incredible amounts of running backs, and they're never going to be able to run the football because they don't have an offensive line to produce for it. And then, as such, it becomes a pass-heavy offense because they become one-dimensional, which Gus mentioned in the press conference. Georgia made them one-dimensional, which we all knew. And since they do not have an offensive line to protect the quarterback, an offensive line to establish the run game, they cannot utilize the playmakers they spend so much time recruiting, and therefore the team is just not good enough. And that's where the issue lies, is the fact that their plan to recruit is not effective, and it hasn't been, because he's been doing it for 4 years where they haven't had an offensive line, and they have not replaced that offensive line. So, because again, I really do think that they have more skilled players than they had in 2013 or in 2014 for that matter. Just top to bottom, I think they have more skilled players on the offense, but they can't utilize them because they don't have an offensive line to work behind. And I think that that's the issue. And I think if this issue persists, and if 4 years down the line, Auburn continues to fail to win on the road, They have not won on the road in Baton Rouge, Tuscaloosa, or Athens since Gus got here. If that continues, then 4 years from now, they probably should not re-sign his contract. That's just the reality of it. I know it's always the dramatic thing to say that after one loss and whatnot, but I'm just saying that this pattern cannot be ignored for so long. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. If we're 4 years down the road, then we're probably at wit's end with a lot of
Oh,
things.
exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like,
I'll
I'm not
give
going
you
to call
that.
it right now because that would be ridiculous. But I think that the facts need to be faced, and the fact is that this is not, oh, we just ran into a good Georgia team again. Now it's just now we keep running into good Georgia teams. We just keep failing in Athens for inexplicable reasons, namely the fact that the offense continues. I mean, under Gus, they have scored double digits once, and it was 10 points. So it's just a reality of the fact that they have failed to recruit to fix the problem, and now the problem keeps persisting. They need an offensive line. They don't have one. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like you have a good point about offensive line recruiting. Even I, who don't even follow recruiting as closely as I believe everybody else, sees that Auburn can sometimes be inconsistent with offensive line recruiting. I mean, they recruit well with athletes and skill players. They recruit very well with defensive players, just in general. But offensive line always seemed like, I don't know. It kind of seemed like it was always in the back of the line when it came to recruiting needs. I guess. Am I wrong in saying that?
I mean, no, you're right, because again, as the offensive line stands right now, you've got a 4-star recruit, 3 3-stars, and a 2-star, which again, stars are not the measure of success necessarily.
Wait,
But
who's the 2-star?
one of the guards, I think the guy that got benched, I can't remember his name.
Oh, well, that's just sad now.
Here's the thing. I feel like the recruiting strategy might be too much of, oh, you don't need a really good player because what matters is, how they mesh as a group. And I think that is true. You can have a group of 2, 3, and 4 stars, and if they work well together, it doesn't matter. They're good enough that it's as long as they're solid, like you'll be able to make it work.
Fair.
But these guys just have not shown that they work well together.
Exactly. And then it forces, because Auburn can't have Bo step back in the pocket and throw it, you've got to run these screen passes with 2 300-pound tight ends in the formation, which if you have 2 300-pound tight ends setting up out wide, they're not going to, well, even when they do try and throw the ball downfield, nobody's really afraid of it.
Pegasus almost had that catch, okay?
Oh, yeah. Again,
he overthrew him.
Couldn't throw because Bo's, spending half the time running for his life because the offensive line folds, in 2 seconds. I mean, it's just
216 yards, 39 on the ground. I mean, I don't even know the last time Auburn had under 40 rushing yards in a game.
And 2018.
Okay, well, damn.
I was
at. I mean, it's a tough look for Auburn. We spent a lot of time on the offense side of the ball. What about defense? I mean, 27 points. I mean, I feel like, the way the things were going, with how long the defense was on the field and how much they had to put up with on the offense side of the ball, they did, I guess, average, decent enough. But the defense also gave up 202 rushing yards, and it seemed like Georgia had their way with them. Kind of like how Kentucky did in the first half, or at least in certain portions of the game in that season opener. What adjustment does the defense need to make other than don't get ejected, right? And and hope that your best players, are able to play the game, a la Jalen Simpson, who wasn't able to travel with the team.
By the way, so that Texas A&M game that I mentioned, Auburn had 21 rushing yards.
Don't tell me that.
Wait. Correction, they had 19 rushing yards.
Don't tell me that. If it get worse, don't tell me that.
I just had to let you know. I mean, for the defense, we saw the adjustments that they could make because they made them at halftime and held Georgia to 3 points for the remainder of the game. But I mean, again, 27 points to that Georgia offense, especially with the way time of possession was looking in the first half, is not a terrible performance. I think we've been so used to that. I mean, that defense held LSU to under 30, which was one of two teams to hold them under 40 last year.
Heck yeah.
LSU scored on everybody. And I think we've been a little spoiled by their performances in the past. This game against Georgia is, again, by no means a great game or a great performance at all. It was a bad performance, but I mean, it's going to be a work in progress to figure out the new way this defense is going to work because, a lot of years in the past, they could just rush four, and that was that because Derek Brown would take on 3 to 4 guys essentially. And, they got to adjust to that. But it definitely didn't help them that they, you lost Smoke Monday, you lost Simpson, and then KJ Britt was basically injured throughout the entire game, and you could tell.
Poor
But
KJ Britt.
he didn't want to leave the field, and it was funny. He goes to the post game interview, and he's like, "Oh yeah, my hand was hurt the whole game, and my shoulder went numb, but it was no big deal." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" Sounds like a big deal, but I mean, you got to respect the heart, I suppose, and I mean, it's just. The defense is not. Even in a game like this, I don't think the defense is the biggest takeaway for me. But
I mean, it sounds like I don't want to compare years to years, right? But it sounds like Stidham's last year, 2018, where the offense sputtered a lot, and you heard a lot of rumors. I'm gonna leave them at rumors. I'm not gonna say that actually happened, but rumors about the defense just being straight up upset about the offense. Like Deshaun Davis, the way that he put a lot of heart into that what that defense was, and it just hurt. It just looked like he was hurting every time they had to go on the field because we're tired. We just can't keep doing this. And I'm not saying KJ Britt's going to go down that same route, right? But it kind of had that same vibe of KJ Britt's going to go out there, and he's not leaving unless they get, Georgia to punt or they cart him off the field because the man was on the ground a lot in the second half with injuries. But, you just can't not feel bad about what that Auburn defense is going through, especially the leaders and veterans, because things can get a little bit upsetting when you see that kind of performance on both sides of the ball, and that can definitely change your locker room.
Yeah, I think getting off the field was huge. Another thing, it seemed like Georgia didn't punt at all in the first half, despite having a lot of third downs in play. So I just think the defense was frankly outsmarted by the offense of Georgia, and it made the defense's job exponentially more difficult, having to repeatedly come back out after already being winded after yet another 3-and-out from the offense. So the problems compounded after the opening drive, and they didn't seem to slow down until the team could catch its breath at halftime. And when you play in a league like the SEC, you just can't allow that to happen.
Yeah, is there anything else about Auburn football that we want to get into? I mean, we spent a good 20 minutes on it, and I don't know if your stomachs can. I mean, I think most of us are over it, but still, it's not easy to digest again what we saw on Saturday. Is there anything else, or do you want to bring up some good stuff that happened with Auburn football?
is there?
I was gonna say, what? Please tell me anything good about Auburn football.
Well, Bigsby, right? We all love him, right?
Essentially carried.
We all love our new prototype weapon on offense, JJ Pegasus, right? Big boy.
Big guess.
Yep. The defense did hold them to 3 points in the second half. Now, whether that was Georgia just parking the bus and just running up the time, or whatever, there's that, right? We saw a different punter. I didn't know who that was for a second. Chapman. Did we see him in the Kentucky game at all?
I don't know.
I believe Aiden Marshall was replaced in the middle of the Kentucky game by Oscar Chapman.
Okay. I didn't know who that was, so I was like, ooh, new blood. They both had punts against Georgia. Alex, did Gus mention at all why there was 2 punters? Or that kind of just went over everybody's head?
I didn't even ask that. There were more pressing concerns. And, of course, Gus had to let us all know that the offense will get better. And I was like, well, Gus, you said that in 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019. So
But did the offense get better, Alex, after he said it?
in 2018, I would say no. In 2019, I would also say no, except for against Bama. In 2017, he was correct. And in 2016, well, I mean, I would say definitely not. So 1 for 4.
That's 25%. And for in baseball, that's 250. That's decent. I'm just saying.
I
But
mean,
this is football.
Oh, well.
And 25%, I can't think of anything, any stat in football where 25% is good.
Drop back rate.
I mean,
I don't know.
that'd be like a percentage, like you're getting first downs on like 25% of like plays. Maybe that'd be it. Or like,
Yeah, but that's a very
digging deep.
unusual stat.
yeah, exactly. You don't hear that, so it's like it's
That
like
that's that Microsoft Next Gen stats to be used on a Sunday Night Football or something
I
like
mean, it's
that.
like Tom Brady's won a Super Bowl in 25% of his seasons, so like there's your metric. But even that,
Well,
again, not a stat.
if it makes you guys feel better on this Monday morning, Auburn is opened up as 16.5-point favorites at home against Arkansas. The game at 4 Eastern, 3 Central on SEC Network. Auburn, according to ESPN, what is this, FPI? Yep, FPI, 89.1% chance to win. So, look, if one thing's been certain, Auburn always shows up on Arkansas. So maybe, I mean, the one game that I remember about Auburn, Arkansas. I mean, yeah, there was the one time that we completely, what was it, like 56-3 at home or something like that, completely backhanded them.
Yeah,
One game I remember, what was the road double overtime loss that we had?
2015. Oof.
That
I'm
was 4 overtimes.
Oh God.
2015,
Yeah.
Ricardo Lewis dropped the game-winning catch.
I was calling an Auburn softball, Auburn University. That's how long ago this was. Weagle still had Auburn University softball, and I was doing a fall
Jerry was in
preseason
college
game.
and we were all in middle school.
Yeah, pretty much. Wherever you were in 2015, during that game, I was at Weagle, and the Weagle still had Auburn softball on the broadcast, and I was doing a fall preseason game. I believe it was against Chipola College, which I called Chipotle once in the air, because that was a mess up on my part. And between innings, they would put the game up on the video board at Jane B. Moore, and I just remember watching Auburn just completely fumbling the bag on the road.
Yeah,
Those are
that
my
was,
those are my two instances that I remember. Oh, I guess
that was
it's around 9:30. Cause here comes the cat. Oh, there she goes. Uh, but is there anything else about Auburn?
I mean, I think everybody said it all.
We're on to Arkansas.
Rondo,
Yeah,
Arkansas.
exactly. Then again, Arkansas did just shut down KJ Costello, so time to freak out, everybody.
Well,
Offense groups for one game.
let's talk about the SEC as we turn over to the rest of the conference. Just breaking down some scores. Alabama, decent win, I guess, 52-24 over Texas A&M. Florida 38-24 over South Carolina. Arkansas 21-14 over number 16 Mississippi State. LSU bouncing back 41-7 over Vanderbilt. Tennessee 35-12 over Missouri. And probably in the best game of the weekend, at least just viewing wise, Ole Miss a 42-41 win in overtime on the road against Kentucky. So it seems like the SEC, at least this week, was a lot less chaotic. And mellowed out. But what was kind of your takeaways from the conference as a whole this past weekend?
What I'll say is it feels like a lot of teams, we kind of see what they're actually made of. You look at South Carolina. I mean, what the hell was that last drive? You look at
That's South Carolina football.
That was no clock management compounded by receivers with center blocks for hands.
and then you look elsewhere, Auburn, Georgia. Obviously, we've discussed that. Then you have the Ole Miss Kentucky game, which I think that shows that Lane Kiffin has his team ready to compete with anybody. I mean, they competed with Florida last week. Mississippi State, Arkansas. I mean, Arkansas actually has heart, and then Alabama, Texas A&M. We kind of knew what to expect out of Texas A&M. I don't know. We actually doubt Texas A&M like you should.
I mean, look, if there's one thing that we can at least agree on is that A&M is never as good as what
Yep.
they seem, I guess, or at least that they're portrayed as in polls, and that they'll
I,
always fall back to reality eventually.
I saw somebody post during the game, this huge college football page. They posted how I've never seen a quarterback regress as badly as Kellen Mond. And I'm watching this game thinking to myself, this is the same Kellen Mond I saw 2 years ago. But for some reason, everybody else has convinced themselves that he's going to, become the greatest quarterback ever for some reason. But he's just been perfectly mediocre for 4 years. And so is Texas A&M. And I'll never really understand why nobody can figure that out. It's like,
I mean,
it's the same thing with like Auburn fans' infatuation with backup quarterbacks. I'll like never really understand it completely, and the same thing applies to the media's infatuation with Texas A&M and them
I
not.
mean, here's the
going
thing: they have all like they've got the money, they've got Jimbo Fisher, they have an experienced
Ability.
quarterback. They should be good. They should be able to compete with the top tier of the SEC, but they just don't.
I mean, they have everything they said. Like Jack said, they got the facilities, they got that oil money, All right, and they have
I'll
nothing
make
to
a
show for
comparison.
it.
I'll make a comparison, and this is just. It feels like this team is just held back by its average quarterback play because it reminds me of like Alabama in like 2000 and I'm gonna say 10, where they've got this incredibly talented group of receivers, as Alabama did for so long, and they just didn't have a good quarterback. Texas A&M does not have nearly a good enough defense, which is why they're worse. But it just comes down to I feel like their quarterback consistently holds back their offense from taking the next step.
In the last 4 years, have they not found a quarterback that was better than Kellen Mond?
That is the question: is like why on earth are they sticking with it?
I mean,
And
I get at a certain point, you just either love the pain or you just stick through it no matter what. But there has to be another quarterback that stepped on campus that was better than Kellen Mond if he is as bad as advertised.
I mean,
Well,
we've
see, I think
seen
that's the thing. I don't think Mond's been terrible. I just think he's been,
Inconsistent.
just
painfully
very
average.
steady. Yeah, he's average, so you can't really
Fault him.
you should exactly
Yeah.
like it's hard to bench him because you kind of look. It's like, I mean, what has he done wrong? It's like, well, we just haven't taken the next step. Whereas in when you see quarterbacks get benched, it's because they go out and throw 5 interceptions. Kelman doesn't do that. He just doesn't go and throw for 300 plus yards and 3 touchdowns when he needs to.
And I mean, there are times where Kellen Mond keeps him in the game because of his leg or that one good pass that he makes. The situation maybe isn't all Kellen Mond. It's just that team is just cursed of being the 8-4 lifestyle, I guess.
I think it's important to remember. I mean, we think Jimbo Fisher, we think the Florida State national championship game and all that stuff. After that game, look at all the quarterbacks that he brought in to replace Jameis. They were all pretty awful. Now you can blame the Florida State offensive line for being bad as well. You can, but I mean, he showed a clear problem with his recruiting after the fact, and like he didn't leave Florida State in like glorious, I'm retiring at the top of my game thing. He left Florida State kind of, Urban Meyer
in the basement because that's where they're currently at right now.
I was gonna say, Alex, he left them as a dumpster fire.
Yeah, exactly. He left them very much.
They still have not recovered.
Yeah, I mean, he left them very much in an Urban Meyer from Florida standpoint. It wasn't at the top of his game. It was very much ran in hiding.
I think it's even worse than
comparison.
Yeah, I think it's worse than Florida because he lit the building on fire and left.
I blame Muschamp a lot more for what happened in the years following than I blame Urban Meyer for it.
That's fair. I was just saying it more in the fact that he didn't leave because he was retiring. He left because the team was going down and he didn't want to be down with the ship. Because Florida, the years after Tebow, were awful. Like I remember they were good. And people were like, oh my gosh, they're going to be good. And then Bama hung 50 on them in Gainesville. And it was like, okay, we're in trouble. And then Urban Meyer's like, I got to go. I was thinking more of the fact that they just sort of left before it caught on fire. And sure, Muschamp brought it back for a year and then it fell apart again. But like, that's just what I was thinking from it. I will agree, though, Florida State is in a much sorry state than Florida was after Urban Meyer. It's just the same pattern, I suppose.
Speaking of the rest of college football, there were some other upsets. TCU, the 33-31 victory over Texas. Big 12 is already eliminated pretty much at this point when it comes to the college football playoff, it seems like. because on top of that, Oklahoma got upset again because you go to Iowa State, you get these hands. 37-30 victory.
So when they lose next, is it still an upset? Which I guess it's Texas, so no. But
Who does
if they
Is
if
that
they lose
this weekend?
Texas,
is.
Oklahoma? It is.
Awesome.
There's some good games this weekend, I gotta say.
Miami, Clemson. We'll see
Miami,
if Miami's for real.
We're picking Miami, Clemson. We're picking Florida A&M, which does to us probably doesn't sound like a good game, but Florida's only a 7-point favorite on the road, which is
Okay,
not
Florida had
good.
some
That's
holes.
crazy.
Yeah.
Florida had some holes on South Carolina. Are they holes
I
that
don't-
A&M I think is going to plug? Absolutely not. But
Yeah.
Florida looked a little less unbeatable on Saturday when South Carolina
if you
kind of
want
attempted to drain the swamp.
if you want a weird upset, Florida A&M's your bet because I can see that game going sideways for no apparent reason at all.
I
mean,
mean,
Anything.
I don't see-
The SEC has lost its mind. If you saw what transpired in Lexington this past weekend.
I just don't see Kyle Trask. I think Kyle Trask is going to be the player of the year. I think he's going to be in New York. I think he's going to win the Heisman this year, and I really think that he's going to carry Florida
Wait.
to.
Wait,
the
back
SEC
up. I
championship
didn't hear
game.
that correctly. What did you say?
I think Kyle Trask is going to win the Heisman.
One more time. For
Kyle
the
Trask is gonna
homies
win.
in the back. For the homies in the back.
Kyle Trask is going to win the Heisman. He is my Joe Burrow.
I love it though. I
Okay.
love that. I love it.
He is
so
my Joe Burrow.
I would say-
I'll ride with you. I'll ride with you.
I would say two things. One, I think in regards to Florida, you can really realize how bad that defense is by looking at South Carolina's last drive and looking that in spite of themselves, South Carolina was still able to move the football, despite the fact that they tried their best to fail and Florida still couldn't stop them until they literally got in their own way to the extreme. And as for Trask, I mean, I think the testament will be when he plays Georgia because, it's always Heisman's always a Heisman favorite until he plays a good defense. Like, think about Fournette. Like, Fournette was always the favorite until he ran into Bama and couldn't do anything. So if Trask is good in every other game of the year, but, throws 200 yards, 2 picks, and 1 touchdown against Georgia, he probably will not win it.
Yeah, and I think it's just, it's early on, and early on stats is the best indicator of, okay, this guy might have a chance at the end of the year. And, 71 completion percentage, 684 yards, and 10 touchdowns in 2 games. Pretty good.
He's a stud. I'm not gonna lie. He's also a
And
stud.
Who's that?
Kyle Pitts.
That's exactly what I was
yeah.
going to say.
If we're
that
looking-
connection with Kyle Pitts is insane.
If we're looking at non-quarterback Heisman contenders, Kyle Pitts is my pick.
Dude, I would love to see a tight end in New York. That'd be awesome.
Yes, sir.
I believe Kyle Pitts, he scored his 6th touchdown of the season last week.
He has 12
And he had
receptions.
5 touchdowns total last season, and he has 6 already.
Yes. He has scored more touchdowns himself than the Auburn offense.
Hey, Jared,
I just want to throw that out there. Other games.
Is Houston playing this
Unnecessary.
weekend, Jared?
Houston's playing this weekend for now, but we'll keep an eye on what's going to happen in Houston.
Yeah, we shall see.
Come on, that's just sad, man.
The funny thing is, Houston is the Thursday game. They're not even playing Saturday; they're playing Thursday. So we'll know if things go sideways in Houston. They're playing Tulane. It's Houston's season opener, home opener, on October 8th if they're allowed to play. So let's go Cougars. Other games we're picking this weekend. There's also Tennessee, Georgia, which, hey, that has a little bit of history behind it.
Georgia opened up as a 2-touchdown favorite in that one, which I don't 100% agree with, but maybe you can win some money on that.
We'll see what Tennessee
Is made of.
It's been several years where
At the top 15 matchup,
Tennessee,
don't look.
It's about time. Yeah, exactly. It's been several years of Tennessee. It's their year.
I think
Butch
this is their best
Jones.
chance.
I'm worried about what's going to happen when Garantano gets his cage rattled because we haven't seen that at all this season.
I would say that I think it'll be close just because Tennessee's always good for one close game against some SEC East rival. Then they, get clobbered by Bama and lose to a bunch of teams they shouldn't lose to, and then they end up being 8-4 again.
I will say that this is probably the first year in a very long time that Tennessee has a better quarterback than Georgia.
That's fair. That is. Then again, I mean, every great Garantano moment, there's that one where you're like,
Hey, he
Oh.
called his own number, Alex. You gotta respect the
exactly
hustle.
that exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking of.
I gotta
Thank you.
see. I gotta see more out of Bennett than me being depressed sitting in the dark.
Yeah.
To make that comparison.
I mean, Bennett didn't end the world on Saturday, but he also didn't face
He ended
any.
my world. My world was shattered.
He
I don't know
didn't
what to
face
do with
any kind of.
myself.
I think he got
God.
pressured maybe once, hit the dirt maybe once.
Another game that's happening. We have Miami Clemson, but there's also another sneaky ACC matchup that's going to determine a lot. That's number 19 Virginia Tech and number 8. Yes, number 8. Don't look now. North Carolina, who barely escaped. I believe what they played Boston College,
Boston College.
and
What?
wow.
I thought you were gonna say Pitt, Jared. You had me worried.
No, we don't bring up Pitt anymore. All right, they let me down.
No, because Pitt, picking Pitt's the easiest thing ever. When they play a ranked team, you should pick them to win. If they play an unranked team, pick them to lose.
They
Yeah.
lost. They lost with a minute to go. Pitt was my
They lost
eight.
on an. They lost on an unbelievable play. If
That's
you
true.
want to take any solace in that, that was a crazy pass by NC State in the corner of the end zone.
Look, when unranked Pitt meets Miami in 2 weeks, you already know who I'm picking. All right.
Jared, what do
Wait.
you expect when you play QBU?
Oh, the game's in Miami too. Pitt on the road. I don't know, man. I don't know. They're like reverse Iowa State.
Narduzzi's got the secret sauce when it comes to ranked teams.
Yeah, it's all in the jerseys. They're slick.
Pitt Miami's scary. We know what happened last time Miami was ranked very high and Pitt played them. Do we?
What happened? Wait, what
I
happened?
remember.
I don't
I
remember
remember.
I
Miami
don't-
was like number 3 or 4. They were like in the college football playoff and Pitt beat them.
that.
I watched that game with a
Oh,
Miami
yeah.
fan,
And
and
then,
it was
they
rough.
lost 38-3 to Clemson in the ACC championship.
Yeah.
Well, look, we don't talk
remember
about
that.
the bad parts.
Oh my gosh.
I'm trying to figure out is there any other takeaway from college football that happened this past week?
UCF lost.
UCF did tumble out the polls. They went from unranked to number 11 to unranked again, I believe.
I think Oklahoma State found their offense, albeit against Kansas, but you don't hang 47 points on anybody.
Well, people do it on Kansas a lot.
Coastal
West
Carolina
Texas.
has entered the chat. I don't know how many points they scored, but they put up a
I will
big
say-
number.
If we can leave this weekend with one thing, let's just say this: Spencer Rattler's the worst Oklahoma quarterback in the last 4 years by
I mean,
far.
Oklahoma's unranked, so if Auburn has any solace, at least Auburn's still 13th. I don't know if we all agree with 13, right? But we ain't unranked.
Let's just say at least Auburn lost to a top 4 team.
Yeah,
Iowa State's top 4 in my heart. Does that count?
I mean, Iowa State at home is probably the number 1 team in the country, but that's a whole other issue entirely.
They are. When
When the
Iowa
College
State
Football
wins the Big
Playoff
12,
Committee announces that the Sugar Bowl is moving to Ames, you just watch out.
you better watch out. You don't
I
want
mean-
that smoke.
That is honestly that's it though, because Iowa State could easily go if they go 12-0 a year, get in the playoff and just get smacked because it's going to be a road game technically. But if they manage to get the playoff in Ames, bro, pick them by 40. It doesn't matter.
I need to, now that Pitt's out of my heart right now. Iowa State is second in the Big 12 because their one loss was not in conference. Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Kansas State are the only undefeated teams left in the Big 12, which means I'm off the Pitt train. I'm now on the Iowa State Big 12 championship train. So let's
Watch
go.
them win the Big 12 and they could be in the playoff except for their one loss to Louisiana.
Go Raging
Raging-
Cajuns.
That's what the Big 12 deserves.
That's the Big 12 in general.
I agree. Oh my goodness. That's
well,
hilarious.
Let's get off of college football and let's go to the NBA. Game 3 was last night, and the Heat, they ain't dead yet. 115-104 victory over LeBron and the Lakers.
are in trouble.
And Jimmy said that LeBron told him at the end of the first quarter that the Heat were in trouble, and Jimmy just said right back when he pretty much just said scoreboard and said you're in trouble, pretty much. After he dropped
scoreboard.
after he dropped a 40-point triple double en route to a double-digit win, which I think was big. Now, to be fair, the game was a lot closer than the final was, right? Because it was like a 4-point game with like 2 minutes to go, and then the Heat just went on a nice run to end it. Uh, but they were in control. I mean, they outscored the Lakers in every single quarter. And I think you gotta tip your hat to the Heat because they are without Bam Adebayo. They are without Dragic. And Butler played the game of his life and they won. So I guess game four, which should be tomorrow.
Yeah, it is tomorrow night.
Tomorrow, Lakers 7.5 point favorite. 9 Eastern, 8 Central on ABC. I guess my question becomes to the group: are the Lakers in fact in trouble?
I'll
No,
say they're in trouble, but I won't say it's really. The Lakers are going to win the series, but I think it's going to become a lot closer than what we thought. It could still be a gentleman's sweep, but I think that the Heat, that gave him a big boost, that game three. And I think Jimmy Butler is going to carry this team on his back if he has to. And I think that as long as if they get Bam back, I mean, I thought Bam would play game three, but he didn't. So get him back. You never know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, we know that Dragic and Adebayo did not play yesterday. I don't know, like, if they were close to coming back in last night's game or what their timetable is. Obviously, you're keeping that close to your chest because you want the Lakers to prepare for them in case they do come back. But I'm gonna feel a lot better about this Heat team if they can get one of those two guys back, and healthy, not rushed back, healthy, right? Um, for the Lakers, I mean, once because the Lakers had some kind of weird stat where it's like if the Lakers scored 100 points, they were undefeated, and this is one of the games where they got outmatched, outclassed, outplayed, and they have another weird status like if they're entering the fourth quarter with the lead, they're like something in one, like it's some crazy stat that the Lakers have.
actually, they had. I believe the stat was that they had never lost when they entered the fourth quarter with a lead. Now they have.
So did they have the lead in the fourth quarter, or when they entered the fourth quarter?
Wait, maybe they didn't. In that case, then they're still undefeated. But
That's a secret right there. That's a secret. Uh,
I mean,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say just that. I mean, if the Heat have to win this game, and if they don't, I think the series is over. I mean, if they win Game 4, it puts all the pressure on the Lakers and puts them on their heels. And by that point, all the momentum is with Miami. But if they lose Game 4, I really don't see this series becoming anything other than a gentleman's sweep at this point.
I mean, I know we talk about Butler's 40-point triple double, but give a shout out to your second leading scorers and Kelly Olynyk, who put in a good 31 minutes, and Tyler Hero, both having 17 points apiece. Olynyk shooting 3 of 5 from the field. And then you had your role players, well, I say role players, but your starters, and Duncan Robertson and Jay Crowder putting a double digits as well. They played well while limiting Anthony Davis to 15 points on 6 of 9 shooting. Uh, that's where that came in. Anthony Davis only had 15 points. He shot well, and I'm gonna be fair. I watched the Sunday Night Football game instead of the NBA Finals, which I don't know why I did that to myself. Um, but I don't know the reason why Davis only got 9 shots up. But I have to assume that's contributed to the Heat game plan that they put out for Davis, and that they want to make sure that if you're gonna beat us, it's gonna be LeBron and his Goonies, right? It's not gonna be Anthony Davis. It's gonna be LeBron and his squad that he has behind him.
In fairness, he was in foul trouble early. That was why he didn't play as many minutes. But as for not getting him shots, I mean, why on earth is Kyle Kuzma and one of the Morris brothers taking 13 shots each? I mean, they both went 6 for 13. That's fine. But,
It's called being balanced.
I mean, yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, Danny Green's going 0 for 6. Contavious Caldwell-Pope is going 1 for 5. At a certain point, are you going to learn to just stop giving them the ball? I mean, Danny Green has been bad the entire playoffs. He hasn't been good once. So
That leads me to ask: did y'all see what Charles Barkley said about the Lakers?
Oh, I missed. I ran past it when scrolling. I only saw his Jimmy Butler comment, which was like, "Have you went to the barber yet in the bubble?" And
Oh no, no,
Jimmy Butler was
it's
like,
not
"That's not a
that.
question."
It's about the Lakers, and Charles said it's AD, LeBron, and a bunch of Jags. Just another guy. And he said, I mean,
Man,
it's kind of true. Like
that's some
based on
disrespect on Rondo, though.
what Alex is saying is basically that. I mean, is he not?
I have a weird relationship with Rondo because
Apparently,
he just
Rondo's brother owns the barbershop in the bubble. To relate your two comments together,
excuse me.
Rondo's brother runs the barbershop.
I remember hearing that.
Oh no. So that's why
All right.
Jimmy's not going because he's afraid he's gonna get nicked.
Exactly. That's the
I mean,
conspiracy.
In fairness to all the arguments you're making, like what Jacob just said, I mean, look, at the end of the day, and I don't want to make this comparison, but it's an accurate comparison with, say, the Bulls in the 90s. You had Scotty, you had Jordan, you had Kukoc, and Jordan shot it 30 times a game because he knew he was the best player on offense. And the other guys got it, but in reality, you were not given a guy to go 0 for 6 shots. You weren't giving two other players 13 shots because in reality, the two best players on the floor are LeBron and Anthony Davis. And
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: having a bunch of Jags, like he says, is one thing, but they have to. You have to use them correctly, and they are not used correctly. Like you were saying, why are they shooting the ball so much? That's not what needs to happen. They need to make enough shots to where they are, respected, and the Heat have to pay them a little bit of attention, and then they have to make good defensive plays and pass the ball well. Other than that, they shouldn't be shooting the ball a ton.
yeah. I think this offense really doesn't work if LeBron and AD are not taking a lot of shots because when AD takes a lot of shots, he tends to make them. He's a very efficient scorer. He always has been and always will be at this point. And when he takes a lot of shots in the paint, it draws a lot of attention away from those shooters in the corner, which gives them more wide open opportunities. Again, Danny Green hasn't hit anything so far, so wide open or not doesn't really matter. But still, it allows for that to happen. I think you saw it with Miami. I mean, Jimmy Butler took 20 shots. And again, Kelly Olynyk contributed 17. But again, Butler was the guy. He wasn't going to, kick it out to Duncan Robinson for 20 shots. He gave him 12, and he still didn't do that great. But again, he was going to limp. We're going to flow through Jimmy Butler, and everybody else is going to happen because of him. And this felt more like, I don't know. I don't know. It's odd because – when the Lakers are good, they look unbeatable. When they look bad, it's like, man, this offense just looks so mundane and broken.
I mean, there's a couple of guys in the Lakers who need to pick up their game. I mean, Rondo, who's played decently well throughout the whole finals, didn't have his best game. He only scored 4 points, 5 assists, 8 rebounds in 28 minutes. I mean, Rondo has to play better than what he put out last night if they're gonna win the series convincingly. Your guys like Caruso, who had 8 points, but he's been shooting. He's had a tough time shooting lately, and he's playing 26 minutes a game. He's out there a decent amount, and I know that he's there a lot for defensive purposes. He plays scrappy defense, but these guys got to start scoring. Your second leading scorers can't be Kuzma and Morris. If that's happening, right? If they're the second leading scorers behind LeBron, there's a problem somewhere. But maybe the Heat found it out. I mean, Eric Spoelstra is one of the smartest coaches in the NBA. I mean, he is the man deserves a lot more props than he is given every single year.
That's why he's the second longest tenured coach in the league.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, this man is smart. Any other 29 organizations, Jesus, that's bright. Any other 29 organizations would be blessed to have him on their roster or on their staff. He's so smart.
I think that, people talk about how the Heat had a disadvantage because they were a smaller team and that led to Anthony Davis just dominating them, but it's also helping out because since they play small, Dwight Howard can only play 14 minutes because of the fact that he can't really run with anybody on the Heat team at this point. And that's in the Heat's best interest because then it puts Green, Caldwell Pope, and guys like Kuzma on the floor more, which again, Kuzma wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, he still probably should take 13 shots. There's also currently a petition going around that
A petition on what? Change.org? That doesn't do anything.
did you see what it was?
No.
It's a
I'm
petition
intrigued.
that if the Lakers win the championship, Kuzma should not get a ring.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, in reality, if the Lakers win a championship, Danny Green shouldn't win a ring, but people just don't like Kuzma for a lot of reasons. So
Did Dion get a ring?
he will get a ring regardless. So,
But should he?
I mean, for the meme of it, yes.
Yes.
I think
Well,
that we
Remember
had
why
the
he's
era,
not on the Heat anymore?
we had the era of super teams. Now we're gonna have the era of signing with both finals teams.
I mean, how many years in a row has this happened?
A lot.
Because
I
we
mean-
had Patrick McCaw, and we had a couple players that went from the Cavs to the Warriors and vice versa. So it's been what, 4 years running?
Look, this is just a new definition of ring chasing, all right?
Yeah.
You gotta secure the bag any way that you can.
The fact that Deion Waiters will have the same amount of NBA championship rings as Kevin Garnett is something to
Hey,
think about.
I mean,
anything's
Patrick McCall has
possible,
how
man.
many?
what?
How many rings did Patrick McCall have? Did he only have
He
one?
has 3.
He has Jesus.
I'm
Yeah,
not-
it's
well,
3 in
there
a
you go.
row.
Oh yeah, I forgot
He's
the Warriors
4.
were dominant. I forgot about that part. So I mean, yeah, like Jack said, anything's possible.
I mean, it's just funny to me how that's going to work. Really,
Game
really
4,
argument a little weird.
Game 4, Lakers Heat. Lakers 7.5 point favorite tomorrow. Are you guys still feeling Lakers? I mean, I think we're all still feeling Lakers a little bit, but I mean, I know I had the Lakers in 5 games, and that hasn't really changed for me yet. Does anybody have second thoughts about that?
I mean, I'm having second thoughts, but I do think that the Lakers are going to win the series. Whether it's in 5 or 6, Lakers are going to get it done.
Yeah.
I don't think – I will say if the Heat win tomorrow night, then my second thoughts will increase. But I think if the Heat get another one, I think the Lakers are going to win tomorrow night, and then the Heat might get another one.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Heat will win tomorrow night.
Fair. That's fair enough. We'll see what happens when the Lakers meet the Heat in Game 4 of the NBA Finals. All right, let's go over to the NFL. I don't know where you guys want to begin with the NFL because there are a couple avenues that you can take. I mean, we can obviously talk about what's going on tonight, where we have 2 Monday Night Football games. So today's gonna be a good day.
Yeah.
Except for Cam. Yeah, except for Cam, which I don't know if you guys have the Bleacher Report app, but they sent a push notification yesterday about Cam's in good spirits, and the photo that they used made me seem like Cam was not looking good. It was all
Are you
like,
talking about is it the photo of him in the car with the mask down?
yeah, it was in black
Yeah.
and white, and I was like,
He
man.
posted that on his Instagram.
Yeah, I know, and I'm like, that doesn't
Everyone's
look
talking
the
about
best of
Cam, but
pictures.
is Jordan Ta'amu okay?
I'm gonna be honest,
I hope so.
Jack. Until
The Chiefs really need him.
when
Send him my
I
T's and P's.
when I was over at your place and you pointed out on the ESPN bottom line that Jordan Ta'amu, the quarterback for the Chiefs, had COVID, I didn't know where he was until you did that. So,
I don't think anybody knew where he was.
Nope.
I don't know. We'll see. That game, which Kansas City is a 10.5 point favorite, and has New England named a starting quarterback? Is it Jarrett Stidham or is it Brian Hoyer?
It'll be Hoyer.
Probably
I don't think they
both.
named that officially, but it'll be Hoyer.
Okay, well, dang. I wanted
That's unfortunate. I know. It makes it way less exciting.
the Chiefs 10.5 point favorites, and
the best hair in football to the worst.
And now, that game is still up in the air because in case there are any more positive tests this morning, which usually news about positive tests breaks around while we're doing the show, so we may know before this thing's over.
I got Twitter refreshing right now, so I'll let y'all know.
If that game is postponed because of positive tests, we'll see what happens. We know what's happening with. I thought for a second I thought that was it, but it wasn't. I just a school in Georgia eliminated spring break, so Auburn students be prepared. I guess that may happen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Alabama canceled it too.
Oh,
Anyway, that's a different subject. Back to the NFL.
Back to the NFL. If that game gets canceled, we know what happened with Tennessee Steelers. We know that's going to week 7. So we'll see how the NFL deals with that. But outside of that, we haven't talked about it. The Jets lost the toilet bowl, and Adam Gase still does have a job. So unfortunately, I guess the tank is on for New York.
So about that, there's a story going around that apparently the Jets management believes firing Adam Gase would, quote, set Sam Darnold back, which I find very difficult to believe.
Hiring Adam Gase set
Yeah.
Sam Darnold back.
That's the point. Yes,
Sam Darnold sacked himself.
That is entirely the point. Yes, but Jets gonna Jets. I don't know what else to do.
I mean, there are a lot of different avenues that we can take from Saturday's games. I think the biggest ones that we can do is that, Tom Brady is still pretty dang good.
Yeah.
I mean, the man was slinging it. So NFC South, beware, I guess. But on the other hand, speaking of the NFC South, I would say, and I was sitting there and I was thinking about this, was that the most complete, dominant game the Panthers had in a long time? Because I mean, it seemed like from the jump, the Panthers were on top of things.
I think they had a great first quarter and then played a pretty good game the rest of the way. They had good defensive stops. The Joe Brady offense kind of found its stride again. It actually looked a lot like a Cam Newton led offense. Just those empty boots that they would run what looked to be a power out the left, and then Teddy would wheel back right, wide open. I mean, that's a Cam Newton trademark play that has been co-opted by Teddy Two Gloves, and it seems like the offense has found what works after 4 weeks. Finally, Teddy knows his role. He knows he can. Hey, if it's open, he can run 20 yards downfield through traffic and score a touchdown. But he can also, if it's a flat, I mean, I think on 3 different occasions they ran a play action flat with Ian Thomas breaking for the sideline, and Teddy said, "I'll do it myself," and probably picked up more than Ian Thomas would have if he had tossed it. So Teddy's figuring out his athletes around him, which is always a question when you get thrown into a new team like this, especially if you're Teddy Bridgewater and you've been thrown around so many different teams, had to battle back from injury, and you're on a team that's partially rebuilding and without its star offensive player. So, are we going to see any Christian McCaffrey and Cam Newton t-shirts? Probably not, because the team is still missing them. But the offense is serviceable. Joe Brady's doing his job. It's gonna be an interesting debate whether the Joe Brady hire or the Matt Rule hire did more for the team this season. I think time will tell. But as it looks like right now, the offense has picked up in a way that I think Carolina has been missing for years, going back all the way to the Shula era. And the offense has really found its stride in a way that Cam Newton kind of had to drag the rest of the team into doing so. And it's just a real shame that these 2 eras couldn't have lined up in Charlotte.
Yeah, I just think Bridgewater's comfortable. Like, he wasn't at first. He wasn't terrible, but there was definitely room for improvement, and I think he's starting to find that improvement. And
Welcome to House
especially without McCaffrey, he's figuring it out. And I guess we'll see how this team does whenever McCaffrey's back and healthy, because they could sneak into a wild card spot. There's 3 spots available this year, so I'm not gonna say the Panthers will make a wild card spot, but it doesn't look like a team that's tanking.
That's fair. I was impressed what I saw from the Panthers, and I think that they have a pretty good thing going, especially with, I mean, when McCaffrey went down, right? It was kind of, oh no, but now it's like, okay, I mean, this team can still surprise you on Sundays. So I think that's pretty good that they haven't lost too much of a step with McCaffrey out, which I think is always a good thing when you lose one of your best players.
Are you saying it was the "oh no"? Anyway,
Yes.
that meme.
Yes. another game that happened. The Vikings finally got a win, 31-23 over the Texans. The Texans are now 0-4, and Deshaun Watson must be wondering to himself what he's doing right now because, I don't know.
He should demand a trade.
I mean, Bill O'Brien has destroyed that franchise. He's going to Jimbo Fisher the Texans. That's what's going to end up happening. Huh?
Yeah. GM Bill O'Brien?
GM
or head coach Bill O'Brien?
Coach and martyr. No, not martyr's the wrong word. Raider.
Sadist.
Bill O'Brien. Yes, sadist. We'll go with that too. Just start throwing out adjectives for him. Because what he's doing is completely... The state of Texas, the Texas Attorney General, which I believe he's on bribery charge. He's been accused of bribery, but that's neither here nor there. The Texas Attorney General should bring up charges against Bill O'Brien for what he's done to Deshaun Watson. It should be a hate crime. He must hate him.
They are spending $250 million on the roster this year, most in the league. They are 0-4. They have no first or second round picks next year. They are pretty much, as it currently stands, set to be one of the worst teams in the league for a long time, simply because of the fact that they've spent money where they don't need to spend it, gotten rid of their best players. They still have an offensive line to protect their quarterback, and they have no draft picks. So,
I mean, the first few weeks we were kind of excusing them. We were saying, oh, they played some of the best teams in the league, but it's hard to use that excuse the whole year.
Yeah.
I make better decisions on Madden than that man does in real life.
Yeah.
And I trade all my assets and I tank on purpose.
Yeah. I mean Washington's tanking right now, and they're not even worse than the Texans by numbers at least.
The thing is, O'Brien just seems so full of himself.
Yep. And
I really don't know what's going to change. I mean, I think Houston's kind of too far in to where they can turn this thing around at any time soon. I mean, the best thing they can do is get rid of O'Brien as soon as possible, and it's still not going to matter because they're still going to be screwed for the next several years because they're in just such a terrible spot. So,
I mean,
I don't know.
I would say this, and this may sound a little ridiculous, but if in rebuilding this team, the best thing they can do is to trade Deshaun Watson, really. Because you could get a handful of draft picks from a very bad team. Washington would probably give up their next 3 first-round picks for him, which Washington will be bad for a
Get
while.
Dwayne Haskins out of here.
No, I mean, really. Like, because as it stands right now, I mean, he is going to – I mean, they need draft picks. They just – there's no other way to say it. They need draft picks to fix something. Because they have a million holes in that team that they need to plug, and they don't have the money to do anymore, so they just need draft picks. And I don't know, man.
There's about to be a fire sale in Houston.
It's crazy how bad it's gotten so fast. Like, and you mentioned, Jacob, like, they could go 8-4 to finish the season, and they would still finish 8-8. Like, that's how – and they're not going to go 8-4 because they're terrible. So
0-4 is a hole. I mean, you're talking about 0-2, teams that have made the playoffs after 0-2. You got to – circle the wagons if you're 0-4.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've got to, win 9 of your next 12, which most teams can't do anyway.
Looking at Atlanta tonight.
Okay, yeah.
Yeesh.
Well, I will
gotta watch that game.
I will say this: Houston is not the only city in Texas that's currently on fire, and that is what brings me to this. And hopefully, this goes well. Because there's no other way I can get you guys to hear this without
roll the clip.
Gee, this is just so loud. But I'll go ahead and roll it for you guys.
Stampede! Go you Dallas Cowboys, go! Oh, it's fumbled by Rondo, and then Rondo's going to run to the end zone, and he's going to get tackled by Jordan Babineau. Amazing! Damn them Cowboys!
So, should he be fired? Absolutely. Will he be fired? Never. I'm telling you, he loves him some Jason Garrett, okay? Jason Garrett can lose every game, doesn't matter.
Touchdown, unbelievable! Touchdown, unbelievable!
I dwell in the past.
Well, to be fair, they did get rid of Jason Garrett, so there's
Yeah,
that.
my cold take lives in infamy.
But
What was your cold take?
That Jason Garrett, should he be fired?
Oh.
Yes. Will he be fired? Never.
Right. I could tell that was your
which was going to go cold eventually. It just went colder than we thought it would.
Yeah.
I mean,
The Dallas Cowboys played such a bad game that they blocked an extra point and still gave up 2 points.
that was the craziest play I've ever seen, really. I've never seen that.
If you need any divine intervention that God hates you, that's it.
I don't know. It only would have been crazier if they got the 1 point safety.
That's true.
Okay, fair.
Also, I will say it's important to that has happened before with the Cowboys.
It happened to Carolina in 2017.
Really?
The Saints blocked an extra point and ran it back.
No.
Well,
But
Leon Lett.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say is the Leon Lett thing where they just you didn't have to touch it. You could have just you could have let it lie, but no.
So
that's in the Cowboys corner extended intro.
Well, we don't want to break that out, not until things go really bad.
Is
You
that
guys
the thing
got
on
anywhere
the
to
array?
be? Because we can sit here for 3 minutes and listen to the Cowboys corner.
Wait,
extended
is
intro.
that the Cowboys corner thing that's on the array?
Yes.
I've always wanted to click that. I
Yeah,
wonder
if you ever want to put Cowboys corner on your show, Alex, I mean, it's right there.
All right, I'll consider in the future because I was always wondering what that was.
The crazy thing is, in the Saints version, the Saints were the defensive team that blocked it and returned it for 2 points, correct?
Yes, the Saints were blocking.
The Browns attempted the extra point, got it blocked, picked it up themselves, and scored.
Yeah, that's where it gets weird.
Okay, I got you.
That is some.
No, I mean
And
that's
it's not. Hey, and it's not the college extra points where it's from the 3-yard line. They were kicking that thing from where do they kick from 17, something like that.
Something like that.
I mean, it would be as if it'd be as if you took the kick six from the Iron Bowl and then Alabama somehow scored a touchdown to win it off of that. Be like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. It's the same principle applies, but that just shouldn't happen ever.
The Browns put up 49 points, and let me tell you something. Part of that does go to the fact that the Browns do play the Colts next week. Okay, there is part of that. But man, the Cowboys are. They're trash.
They're awful.
They're trash. They're awful. They're 1-3, and I think technically
that one win would not have happened if it weren't for the Falcons just being completely just
Inept.
Yeah.
We'll
And
go with that.
the only reason that Dallas is not tied for Washington at the top of the division is because the Eagles have a tie. That is what this world has come to.
I think a great snapshot of the game yesterday for the Cowboys was, let's see, Cowboys making a comeback. They're driving. I think the Browns are driving. I think Cowboys are up down 4 minutes left in the game. They just need to get a stop here on the Browns to get the ball back, maybe have a chance to take the lead. Cleveland runs a double reverse with OBJ, where I believe he gets to about 25 yards from behind the line of scrimmage, hit the freeze frame there, and then do a multiple choice question on do the Browns score a touchdown on this play?
Yeah.
Because the answer is yes. OBJ, I think, probably covered 100 yards of turf on one play and just made the Cowboys look foolish.
So when I was watching that live, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking,
you watched it live? I turned it off.
So I'm like, oh man, the Cowboys are going to get a stop. Oh my gosh, they're going to win the game. I cannot believe the Browns choked. And then they do the reverse, and I'm in the middle of about to make the statement, oh my God, what a stupid play. Why would you run a double reverse when you just could run it up the middle? And then OBJ turns on the Jets, and I'm just in a freeze frame, just and then they show Dak also making the same face. And then my roommate's like, hey, that's you. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I could not understand how it escalated so quickly from 10-yard loss to 75-yard jet sweep touchdown.
There's no such thing as a bad offensive play against this Cowboys defense.
Yeah.
I shudder at the fact that I may see a better performance out of Auburn to play this Cowboys defense than they did against Georgia. I mean, this Cowboys defense is putting out some. I would say they're pulling people out the stands. Unfortunately, there's nobody there really.
Yeah.
So,
and unfortunately, their worst players are the ones they like. Jalen Smith was horrendous yesterday, and he just got the fat contract. DeMarcus Lawrence basically has disappeared off the face of the planet. He also got the large contract. So,
if you want to take a snapshot at the NFC East, every single team in that division has a negative point differential. The Cowboys had the best at -20, but every single team has gotten the brakes beaten off of them.
Yep.
And if it wasn't for the Eagles showing up against the 49ers, where half of their roster is in the hospital or on IR, right? Where the 49ers use 2 different quarterbacks, right? And you won by 5. I mean, they are the worst division in the NFL.
Yep, they absolutely are. And I'm happy about it.
Hey,
at the end of the day, think about it. I, as a Washington fan, could be 1 win away from the division title, or 1 win away from being like the 10th pick in the draft. Not that.
And I mean, they expanded the playoffs, so you may sneak in as that last seed. Who knows?
No, the NFC's too stacked, especially out west.
To be fair, out west, all of them have a positive point differential, with the Cardinals being +6.
Washington has gone into halftime down by double digits for 6 straight games. In their 85-year history, that is the most of all time. Whoop, whoop.
Let's see. Was there anything else that happened on Sunday that we need to kind of go? There was a brawl between the Giants and the Rams at the end of the game. That did happen.
I have one thing.
Yes, Alex.
Everybody's favorite coach, Matt Patricia, decided to say something stupid again. Because Jim
Alex,
Caldwell,
what did he say?
in his 4 years in Detroit, Jim Caldwell went 11-5, 7-9, 9-7, then 9-7 again. The Lions are like, nope, got to fire this man. Matt Patricia says, when I came to Detroit, there was a lot of work to do, and that's what we're trying to do. Despite the fact that Jim Caldwell won 9 games in his last year, and Matt Patricia won 9 games in total in his first 2 years as the Lions head coach. So in short, Matt Patricia's an idiot. I mean, that's harsh, but also the correct thing to say. Because he has single-handedly destroyed this franchise and wasted the last few good years of Matt Stafford that the Lions will have. So, I mean, it's honestly kind of pathetic.
It's Trevor Lawrence time.
Kind of sad, honestly.
It is sad.
It makes me feel really bad for Jim Caldwell.
Yeah, exactly, because,
Like, you see this goofball running the show that you got fired from?
like, who were the Lions to
Like,
fire?
if I
him
woke up
97?
one day and Alex was hosting the Extra Point.
It's true. That's a good comparison, though. Who's this goofball?
I am hurt by this, Jack.
I mean, like, yeah, Jared was great. I mean, he was okay. He was serviceable.
I got to the playoffs.
Let's see if I can insult Jacob here too. Hold on.
Come on, think
I
about
have
it. Look it up.
I've hosted Extra Point I did for a semester, and no disasters while I was the host. So
I
As far as I
hosted an
know.
episode and then the world ended. So
that is true.
Jack hosted an episode, made a joke about Paul George being on the Pacers, and me and Davis really had to question if he was serious. So that's about the best moment from that.
He is right, though. If you ever host Extra Point, I'm probably dead, or I quit and I ran off to... What's some random country that I can
a
name?
beach in Mexico.
Not even a beach
Don't
in
worry,
Mexico.
Jared. We won't let it happen.
I'd probably run off to, like... Barbados.
There are worse places.
I feel like that's somewhere I'll run off to. Other than that, I mean, the Sunday went pretty decently well for everybody. The Bengals, Joe Burrow got his first win. So, Alex, I don't care about Washington. You lost. You were supposed to lose.
I know. I just want to make sure we were clear on something because I was like, I mean, well, that's not.
Do you want me to bring up Washington so we make fun of you?
Y'all only lost by 14, so this weekend went better than it could have gone.
Yeah,
Right?
That's actually
Be happy.
kind of fair. I'm not gonna lie to you.
The Bills are gonna win the AFC championship.
Whoa!
I buy it. I'm
Look,
with you, Jared.
I mean,
Hey, you're behind me on Kyle Trask. I'm behind you on the Buffalo Bills.
heck yeah. Look, when 2 weeks ago, when we were all picking our AFC Championship teams, and I was left with the scraps, and had to pick the Bills. Okay, I was like, I'm gonna ride this train. I'm riding it. They're my new 49ers. So when I have a Bills jersey come February, don't say nothing.
I mean, the fact that like everybody seemed to have bullied Josh Allen into being an MVP candidate is kind of hilarious. Like he
See,
was so bad.
Bullying works.
No, yeah, I will admit I doubted ever since he got drafted. I doubted him. I mean, I saw a tweet about how it was like the Bills traded up to take him over Josh Rosen, how that was a terrible trade or whatever. I would have. Well, I don't know. I didn't like Rosen either, so I might have been like,
Yeah.
whoever you take, you're screwed. But I never thought in any world Josh Allen would be even an average quarterback.
I mean, listen to his numbers year by year. You've got let's see if I can get the year by year. You've got first year 5-6. They went 5-6 when he was played. 52% completion percentage, 2,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions.
Tebow stats.
The next year, 58.8% better, 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. But he looked pretty bad against the Texans in the playoffs. Everyone was like, okay, maybe.
Oh yeah, when he went erratic on that 2-minute drive and started just doing random things.
And now 70.9% completion percentage, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Not to mention the fact he's not even running the ball nearly as much as he used to. He's basically just become a pocket passer.
I mean,
all you're saying is it works.
That's true. That's because he's huge and nobody can seem to stop him. But it's just crazy to me that what has happened.
What you're saying is Josh Allen is going to be right behind Russell Wilson for MVP.
I mean, at this point,
yeah.
Because I mean, if they go 12-4 and he keeps it up, yeah, why wouldn't he be? I mean, if they are as good as they seem to be,
Well,
their next 2 games are against.
Yeah, I thought we were.
So we hope
somebody, Jack.
when A-Rod dropped 700 on the Falcons tonight.
that is true. Rodgers is in contention for it, but
And Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
well, no, I was.
Oh yeah, no, that guy. And
No, I know that, but I was gonna say voter fatigue is gonna affect Mahomes and Lamar very significantly.
Jordan Ta'amu's storybook redemption from COVID-19.
Jack, no.
that's true.
I mean, with voter fatigue, though, I mean, Josh Allen could take a lot of those, middle of the pack voters that don't know who to pick. Because
It sounds like you're talking about an election now.
what?
It sounds like you're talking about an election now.
I mean, that's
I
what
was
the MVP
gonna say.
voting.
We're steamrolling toward a contested convention, Jared.
Oh my
Patrick
God.
Mahomes
We are.
doesn't have the delegates, even though he won Iowa.
We could get an NBA situation where people pick Mahomes or pick Allen, and then the Chiefs beat the Bills in the playoffs by like 40. And it's
Well,
like, oh.
the next 2 games the Bills play are against, God willing, the Titans, right? If everything goes correctly over there. And then the Chiefs. So we're about to figure out how good this Bills team is against these next 2 teams. Decent teams. Titans, decent. Chiefs,
They, on average,
Pretty good.
they're a good team.
yeah.
If you take them together.
Chiefs, I don't know if they've done them. I don't know if the Chiefs have done them last year, but I feel like they're a pretty good team, you know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens there. But speaking of Chiefs, tonight, playing the Patriots, 10.5-point favorite. And then an hour later, the Falcons play the Packers. By the way, the Packers line is dropping. It was 6.5. It's down to 6 now.
Yeah, Devontae Adams is not playing.
Does that even matter when Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback?
I mean, yeah,
I could throw Jacob out there, and he would get about 6 receptions for about 80 yards and 2 touchdowns.
but I mean, Jared, when you look at the rest of their supporting cast, yeah. I mean,
But it's the Falcons.
It is Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, and a bunch of scrubs.
It's the Falcons. And they have Dan Quinn. I mean, if we're playing an RPG, Dan Quinn gives you -10 to all stats. That's just how that works.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
But I assume this whole group is going Chiefs and then Packers.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why we would go anything different. Taking a look at the NFL Pick'em standings, Alex, you are still in first place at 43-16.
Woo!
Bay and Davis are tied at second at 40-19. Me and Jack are tied at fourth at 39-20. Jack making a comeback, and Jacob at 34-25. In college football standing pick'em, I took over first place at 26-14. Davis a game back at 25-15. Alex and Bay tied at 24-16. Jack also tied at 24-16, a three-way tie for third, and Jacob at 22-18. Now, as we switch over to the MLB on this last segment, in the extra point playoff gauntlet, me and Jacob tied for first place. There you go, Jacob. There you go.
I got that at least.
At 10 points. Carter and Bay
Thank
tied
God
at...
for the Marlins.
Yeah, thank God for the Marlins, right? And if you would have just picked the Braves, you'd be in first place right now. If you just believed.
I still don't have any faith in them. We got to play the freaking Marlins, and the Marlins don't lose in the postseason.
Carter and Bay tied at third at 9 points. Alex and fifth at 8 points. And Davis and Jack tied at 6 with 7 points. I'm trying to go for the extra point triple crown with winning all 3 of these. I just need to catch up in NFL Pick'em. That's something new I did last night. I'm gonna dub it the extra point triple crown. This is our triple crown right now.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going for it. But speaking of the MLB division round starts today in the
That's what I'm gonna pick.
in the AL and I believe the Astros. Yep, Astros and Athletics. That game's at 4:00 Eastern, 3:00 Central. And then Yankees Rays at 8 Eastern, 7 Central later tonight. I can't stand both of these series. I'm gonna hate both of them. I don't want the Astros to win, and I dread at the thought of the Yankees losing to the Rays right now in the playoffs. I just can't. I don't know if I'll be able to handle it. I may actually commit a hate crime against Devil Rays if they win this series. The extra point playoff gauntlet, the new setup is out for you guys to fill out. Hopefully that's what you're looking at right now. But it's different this time around. This time you're picking the winner and the game together. If you get the winner and the game correct, and the number of games correct, you get 2 points. If you just get the winner correct, it's 1 point. If you don't get any of them correct, it's 0 points. And then superlatives, off the top of my head, it's superlatives like who's gonna be swept.
Is it just you being lazy again?
Pretty much.
Things that we have to just put explicitly so you don't have to look back at it.
These are a lot better. It's like who's most likely, or I think one of them's like who's gonna get shut out the most in the divisional round, and and all that. Who's gonna hit the most home runs, which we already know who the answer to that is. Who's gonna have the longest game innings wise, things like that. So they're better superlatives. I put a lot more thought into these than I did the other ones.
I'm just picking blindly. We'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, there's the reason why you're in fifth place. But I mean, let's talk about the playoffs. Astros, Athletics, Yankees, and Rays tonight. The Yankees are favored. I do want to point that out, which I thought was kind of weird. That shouldn't be right. The Rays should be favored, because I feel like they are the more complete team than the Yankees, but they're not, and I find that very weird. And the A's and Astros are going to be squaring off in what should be a fun matchup, as the Astros look to continue their run through the playoffs, I guess.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow at 2:00 Eastern, 1 Central, you'll have Marlins taking on the Braves. The Braves are favored in that matchup. And then later that night, you'll have, and this is the NL side, at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, Dodgers, Padres. A's Athletics will be at 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central, while the Rays and Yankees will be at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. What do we think about this division round?
Exciting matchup.
Exciting matchups?
Well, it's nice to have three divisional matchups.
Well, you have Yankees, Rays. You have
Yankees, Rays, A's, Astros, and Braves, Marlins.
Yeah.
I don't think there will be as many upsets this and the divisional series as there was. In
We also have now I know my baseball knowledge is very low. We also have Padres, Dodgers, right?
Yeah.
Oh my!
There you go. See, I know baseball. I feel those it's exciting. I mean, I know my Cardinals literally let me down. They
So did the
easily
whole
could win
NL
that
Central.
series. Yeah, we don't want to talk about that. What 0 for 4 in a Central?
Yeah.
It's
NL Central went from best division in baseball, 4 teams in the playoffs, to yikes.
They are essentially the NFC East.
and at least the Cardinals had a chance. And they got bit by Slam Diego. I know why they have the nickname now. And boy, did I learn the hard way. Uh, has any team surprised you so far through the wild card round? Is there any team that you weren't high on, but now it's like,
Astros.
all right, Astros,
The Marlins.
Yeah.
Marlins? Alex, what about you?
I know Hellman picked the Marlins, but man, I did not. When they went into Wrigley in the freezing cold and hung 5 on, and then I mean, once you Darvish came out the pen, it was
That was the game.
put a fork in it.
Alex?
I mean, the easy pick being the Astros, but that may be more on the Twins' ineptitude. So I would say the A's beating the White Sox.
Yeah.
Don't bring up that series with me.
Tragedy.
I mean, you saw what the extra point. We all picked the White Sox.
Oh yeah, I know about that.
Just because, I mean, you talk about how the Astros win was on the Twins. I mean, the A's have had about as much ineptitude in the playoffs as anybody else. I mean, they have failed consistently.
Yeah, but they have a movie behind them though.
Oh no, absolutely. And the movie makes them look great, sort of. Not really. It's complicated, but
I've never seen it.
It's a good movie. I recommend. But I mean, it is.
No.
But I think that one just surprised me, just because I mean, there's been so many years I remember where the A's looked like this great team in the regular season, and they just kind of faltered again in the playoffs. So the fact that they didn't was like, hey, it's good for them.
I would not. I like I said. I mean, I don't know why y'all picked the White Sox. For me, I just thought the White Sox were, they're
I thought they were better.
one of the best teams in the AL. I mean, straight up.
Yeah, I thought they were better.
The fact they were 7 seeds is crazy to me.
I mean, I think there's a lot of motivation for Oakland in this one because for the past 3 years they've had to play second fiddle to the Astros, and they've been relegated as a good team into the wild card game, which they lost the past 2 years to the Yankees in 2018, to the Rays last year. And a wild card game, take it with what you will, but it's not an entirely fair way of deciding the last playoff team with just a 1-game metric. And I think the A's just have a lot of motivation in this one to take. I mean, they would have been a division winner in a lot of divisions these past 2 years, and then just because they've had to sit behind the Astros, they had to take a back seat and get bounced out of the playoffs. So now there's a lot of bad blood between these two teams.
Look,
I'll tell you what.
Go ahead.
The
Jacob.
Braves surprised me. Like in all honesty, like a little bit of me picking the Reds is just because haha, Braves in playoffs, whatever. But I did not expect the Braves to pitch the way they did, and in the second game come through in the clutch like they did with Duvall and Ozuna hitting those home runs in the 8th inning.
Right.
Because who knows what if it's only 1-0 going into the 9th, who knows what happens? The Reds might have figured something out, but they had to be a lot more aggressive in the 9th inning because they were down 5 runs instead of 1. I think it was just a dominant pitching performance, which
Did the Reds
going
score
into
at all?
series, No.
That's because all I get from the Braves is what you guys tell me, and going to that series, it was the Braves bullpen was shaky at best, and the fact that the Reds did not score at all.
How'd you get that?
Was it the Braves bullpen or the starting rotation?
The starting rotation is shaky at best.
The starting
bullpen's
rotation is
great.
The starting
but
rotation
the
is
starters
shaky
did
at
great.
best. Yes.
Reed came in game 1,
Sorry,
did great,
I got that
Yeah.
backwards.
and then
Really,
Anderson.
well, to be fair,
first postseason start.
you only had 2 starters. It wasn't a full rotation. You only had to throw out your 2 best guys.
Yeah.
Uh,
So it could still come to play. The rotation right now, you got Freed, Anderson, who did great in the wild card, and you got Kyle Wright, who I don't trust it. And then after that, I guess it's bullpen games.
This is how much I've kept up with the Braves in the last couple of years. I would look at the rotation. I was like, man, where are these guys at? Like, where's Fulte at? where's Julio Teheran at? I was like, where are these guys at?
Fulte was here until he played against the Rays and got shelled.
Did he get DFA'd? That's what I saw, and I was like, man,
Hard.
you hate to see it.
I mean, I think he got DFA'd in the middle of that game that he started.
The stat
Damn.
that ESPN kept showing was that the Rays are on a 28 scoreless postseason inning pitch streak, which yes, that's the 23 or that's the 22 that they pitched scoreless against the Reds, but that also dates back to the 6 scoreless they pitched against the Cardinals in Game 5, which I don't think is entirely fair because I think up 10 the Cardinals weren't really swinging for the fences.
No.
So maybe just leave that stat.
Leave that in the past.
Maybe could
Leave it at
consolidate it to this season. Just say scoreless in this postseason.
I will say for the A's, you're right about them playing behind the Astros, and they're playing for a city. Now that the Raiders are gone, Oakland, that's A's country now. There's no other good team in that city. Yeah, I said it.
Okay, Jared.
I said it.
Yeah.
Come at me, Warriors fans.
Was it three NBA championships in the last decade, or is it only 2?
Who? I don't know who that team is. The one that had the second pick in the draft. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Well, they don't even claim Oakland. They think they're the whole state.
Yeah. So it's the A's city now. I guess just to end off the whole show. Yes, Alex.
So were you asking about the COVID tests for the? Wait, you were asking about the Patriots game, weren't you?
Yes.
Never mind.
Wait, who is this for though? That's still a big question.
So for the first time in 7 days, the Titans had no positive tests. So just got that notification. Oh wait, that was 2 hours. What the fudge? Never mind.
Alex, I didn't know where that was going, but I got scared.
Yeah, same here.
I thought I had to censor the show.
I wasn't about to say it on the air, everybody. My goodness.
I thought
What do you think I am?
I'm gonna be so upset. You're gonna make me go back and edit, and I don't want to do that.
Jared, you're out here talking about doing cocaine, and you're like, all right, Alex, don't be
I
saying
didn't say that on the show. I never said the word. I never said that word. I'm not censoring it now. Alex, come on, man. You're falling apart. I know we're out
we were doing
in.
so good. We were doing so good, and then Alex just brought it off the rails in the last minute of the show. Literally, Jared's ready to wrap it up, and then Alex just derails.
Like, hold on, guys. I have 2-hour-old news.
I don't know what happened. I could have sworn it was like it just came up as if it was new, and then it's like, oh, posted 2 hours ago. I have no idea.
I mean,
That's me when I get a Canvas notification that a test I took yesterday just got graded.
so MLB playoffs start today, ALDS today, and then it goes over to tomorrow with the NLDS starting as well. I won't ask you guys, who you're picking or anything like that. I'll let the Google form speak for itself. So make sure that you go ahead and fill that out because I always love going through that and just seeing what everybody says. But if we had to pick a team that we're really high up on right now, I just want to throw out a team name and we'll just call it a day. Alex, who's that team for you right now?
The team that what?
That we're just really high up on to win the World Series right now after what we've seen.
I mean, when in doubt, go with the Dodgers. Just
when in doubt, go with the
That's
Dodgers.
a terrible pick.
I'm about to say what?
their record is pretty good. So that's why I'm going off it at this point. I don't know.
Do you not understand they have Clayton Kershaw, who is the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of the playoffs?
I get it. It's just the fact that I'm looking at the playoffs overall, and I do not trust the Marlins or the Braves. So there's that. I mean, I don't trust if Houston somehow beats the A's. I don't think they're going to win it just because I don't think they're. And if the A's beat Houston again, it seems like most of these teams I can't trust all the way. So I'm going to go with the Dodgers. Maybe I'll be right. Who knows?
Jacob, if the one team you had to pick to win it all right now, just because you love them, who is it?
The Rays, starting pitching, always comes through.
Jack?
We got Rays with the balance. We got Padres with the explosions.
I'll stick with the Yankees. I'll
also say I like the Padres. They fought back from down 0-1.
Yeah, I mean, that shows a lot of grit, especially when you're missing 2 of your best pitchers, who I haven't heard any news, but hopefully that they're back.
I've heard Clevenger probable.
I don't know.
We hope.
But if the Padres can get back up to full strength, I mean, that's a dangerous team. But they got to get through.
They kind of got manhandled by the Dodgers during the regular season. So,
yeah.
Hey, things change on October.
You never know. Is that October surprise, I guess, the best way that I can put it. But that does it for the show today. So thank you guys for joining me on the program. for whatever this was. It was a fun Monday, even if we started with Auburn disappointing us on Saturday. So it was fun. Make sure that not only can you check out this episode later at noon, but you can also check out the Xtra Point September highlights as well. That's available right now on Spotify. Yeah, on the Weagle family of networks, I guess we used to call it, on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever you wanna listen to on. And this show will be live at 3:45 Central, 4:45 Eastern on YouTube as a premiere. So make sure you jump in and you have fun with the rest of the crew. For Alex Houston, Jacob Hillman, and Jack Hart, and shout out to Davis Carroll as he got his car towed to the mechanic because it died on him. He texted me last night and he said, I would like to be on the show, but I can't because I gotta get my car towed. And when he was telling me about what was wrong with it, he said, it won't turn on, and sometimes when I make turns, the floorboard under me moves, but that's okay. And I was like, this man may not make it through 2020 if that's what's going on. So, shout out to Davis. Let's make sure that him and his car make it through. But for Alex Houston, Jacob Hillman, and Jack Hart, I'm Jared Dill saying thank you for watching and listening to the Extra Point here on WEGL 911 and WEGLFM.com.